Hey y'all. Um, Sorry it's been a minute. I will explain a little bit about why that has been in a video probably tomorrow, but I just want to come on here and give a quick word that the Lord gave me, and it's about peace. I've kind of talked about this before, but what He showed me, what He revealed to me, is that the peace of the Lord cannot be rationalized. The peace of the Lord cannot be rationalized. This is for someone who maybe has a promise, thinks they have a promise, heard a word, thinks they heard a word. They're unsure if something came from the Lord or not. The peace of the Lord cannot be rationalized. So, one thing about the peace of the Lord, we're going to look at John 14:27. I'll actually read the passage if I can get it up. But I don't need to read it. It says, "My peace I leave with you. I give to you." Sorry, I do not give as the world gives. And I've talked about this before. The "I do not give as the world gives" is a super, super important thing. There's the peace of the world, which looks very conditional, and then there's the peace of God. The conditional state of the peace of the world is often tied to circumstances being, situations being calm, no issues, blah, blah, blah. Oftentimes the world will say and rationalize, if this happens, this is the reaction that you need to have, whatever. Someone was unkind to me today, so I had to, go off on them, something like that, right? The peace of the Lord shows up when, and I can't say only when, but mostly when, something doesn't make sense. So, whenever God gives you a word, gives you a promise, gives you a direction, it's not going to look very rational. It's going to be like, what are you saying, Lord? The peace of the Lord cannot be rationalized. It says in Philippians 4:7, we all should know this verse, it says, "And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." It's really hard to explain. If you're watching this and you're not a Christian, it's really hard to explain outside of knowing Christ, because it won't make any sense, but it's the reason why, the peace of the Lord is the reason why some people have gone through hell and back, the worst of the worst situations, and they can still have peace, and they're not rattled. Even me now, in the circumstances that I have had, I have said, this doesn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. I should be more upset, all this stuff. And I probably should have been. But because where I'm at, where I've been, it came with the backing of the Lord, I was at just this complete peace. As long as I had my eyes stayed on Him. There's a verse that says, He keeps in perfect peace those whose eyes stay fixed on Him. As soon as I would move my eyes from His direction and look at the logic of the situation, I'm like Peter on the water. Is it Peter? I think it's Peter. On the water, and he's walking on the water, and then he realizes, oh my gosh, I'm walking on the water, and he looks around and he's like, oh my gosh, water, and then he starts to drown, right? Well, that's what it's like, basically. That's just such a good example of how we mess up. Oftentimes when walking with the Lord, we will take our eyes off of Him and look at the situation, look at the circumstances, and then we'll get really rattled. And He tells us not to do that, So, just know, if you're wondering, did this come from the Lord? Did the Lord speak to me? It can and should come with a level of peace. If you have a promise, and this is something, this is for someone who maybe is wondering if they have a legit kingdom marriage promise or not, or whatever promise you have. If it doesn't come with a level of peace, be very, very skeptical. Now, again, I have to reiterate that I'm talking the peace of the Lord, not the normal version of like what peace looks like. I was talking to someone who was trying to understand the situation, and they're not a believer, and when we got on the subject of peace, it was like for them, they had a certain level of understanding, and the peace that I was talking about was totally different. From their perspective, I could imagine that they thought that I was looking at it like, oh yeah, there's so much peace because, this situation, like, this person and I get along so well, and we have such similar personalities, and, there's this and there's that, and there's all these reasons why. No, like, no, 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 no. I will share more about this, soon, but, no, total opposite. The peace that comes with this situation is 100% backed by God. And if you have a situation like this, it will be the same thing for you. 100%. The peace can and should only come from God. And for me, I won't say this will be everyone's situation, because it won't be. But for me, there's nothing about it that makes sense. Very, 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 very little about it makes sense. So little, in fact, that it's not worth, I can't really, mention it as a reason to, believe in this situation or any such thing. The only thing that makes sense is, okay, what has God said about it? That's the only thing that makes sense about it, because there's just no logic to this. If I went into detail and told y'all what was up, y'all would report my page for blasphemy, or I don't even know, no, you wouldn't, but I'll just say no one would probably listen to me because they think that I'm insane, and that's fine. But yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but just know that when you're experiencing the peace of the Lord, and that's actually a way in which He speaks, is through peace. Sometimes He'll tell you to do something, and you'll be like, was that the Lord? I don't know, blah, 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 and you're going back and forth, and He won't say another thing. Why He does that, I don't know. But He won't say anything, and then you have to go with that peace. I did a video, Let Peace Be Your Guide. That was from a very beautiful revelation from one of my mentors. But sometimes that's how He speaks, and then it's after you move with that peace, or let that thing go that wasn't giving you peace, then He'll speak. Then He'll give you the confirmation. So that's just how it works sometimes. I don't know why. But yes, the peace of the Lord cannot be something that's rationalized. The more you can sit there and say, oh, yeah, God told me blah, 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 and that makes sense because blah, 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 blah. He is going, if He's going to give you something, He wants you to walk it out with Him. And that area in which you need to walk it out with Him is going to be unknown, uncertain territory where you're going to need His peace to navigate it, if that makes sense. It's not going to make sense to walk it out without God. Whatever promise He's given you, whatever word He's spoken over you, whatever, it's going to require that you get in closer proximity with him. Okay, that's it. Bye.